Hey everybody, it's Wahome from Wahome Gitonga Coaching. Welcome to another episode of Business Conversation Interviews, where we interview the most successful people from across various industries, from business owners, entrepreneurs, influencers, doctors, lawyers, coaches, and a variety of successful people. So today I'm lucky to be having the privilege to interview Tim Brownson. Now Tim is one of the top NLP coaches in the UK, and he's going to be sharing with us his pearls of wisdom in terms of how to increase your confidence, how to master your mindset, and also how to create, create a winning mindset that's going to allow you to up your performance. So, without any further ado, let me welcome Tim. Hey Tim.
There you are. Hiya. Sorry, I was panicking a bit then because it never asked me for the password, and you weren't here. I was like, shit, this isn't going to go well.
So you're here now. Great.
Hiya. Sorry about last week.
That's okay. It happens. You're here now. That's the most important. So, okay, I'll start with the first question. Just also thank you for taking the time to this interview. So the first question is, tell us about yourself. What is your background and how did you decide to get into your business?
Okay, so my background is sales. Worked in sales for 20 years, mainly B2B, business to business, so to corporate level, outsourcing, excuse me. And then just was stressed senseless and thought I need to figure this out. And basically I did a stress management diploma at Sheffield University. And that kind of got me into self-development. I wasn't really into self-development before then. So I read about life coaching. I've been asked so many times, well, how do you know about it? And I honestly can't remember. I'd love to be able to tell a great story, but there really isn't one because I can't remember. And I went and took a coaching certification with achievement specialists, and they were in Bournemouth at the time. I think they moved to London now. And really just enjoyed it. And again, at that point, I still wasn't really thinking of leaving sales. It was more, I want to be a better manager. I want to be able to manage my own stress better. But we got a move to the US due in February 2006. And I thought, okay, I really don't want to stay go from corporate UK to corporate US, corporate America. I'm going to give this a go. So then I got into coaching, and that went terrible for about 3 years. Then I realized I needed to understand marketing because because I knew sales. There's a bit of arrogance. I think, I know sales, so I'll be able to figure this out. And I didn't. And so then I did. After about 3 years, I just thought, okay, I need to figure out online marketing. And then after about 5 years of that, I got more and more coaches wanting to hire me. So I didn't really set out to work with the coaches or help people with marketing, but it just happened sort of organically. And then I think 2013, I think I set up Coach Life Coach and started working mainly with normal practice clients, but with a few coaches, and the balance started to tip as more and more coaches came to me. And that's pretty much all I do now. I do still have a daring adventure where I will pick and choose if a client I think is a good fit for me. But for the most part now, I just work with other coaches because I love it. It's fantastic. And it allows me to do, it allows me to do coaching, but it also allows me to do mentoring and training and teaching and what have you. So I can shift about, many different hats. So it's fun. I love it.
Thank you. So I know you've touched about this a bit already, but what was the idea behind the business? So what was it that drew you to more working with coaches than working just individually with people?
Yeah, I think it's that ability, not, as coaches with coactive coaching, the premise is ask questions and open people up and let them come to their own conclusions. And from a coaching perspective, that's the ideal, because we know there's enough research to suggest that if people come up with their own answers, they're more likely to follow through. But that's great and it works well. But sometimes you think, you know what, I can see a shortcut here. not necessarily for traditional coaching clients, but certainly with coaches. So if you came to me and said, Tim, I've got this great idea, I'm going to post quotes to a Facebook page and I'm going to get clients that way, I'd be like, no, I don't do that. Everybody's done that. It's been done to death. It's not going to separate you from the competition. So I can step in and offer advice based on not just my own experience, but also reading case studies and, just I'm a little bit obsessed with reading about marketing. Just say, okay, well, that doesn't work, and here's why. So I think it's accelerating that success for people.
And so what's the biggest challenge you personally faced when you started your business? And what was the key to you overcoming that?
Okay. Getting clients. The key to it was my wife putting a foot up my backside and telling me I wasn't on vacation / holiday, whatever. So yeah, I think it, for most coaches don't fail because they can't coach. They fail because they don't know how to generate clients. And that's the difficult thing. And I think it took me for a while. So I definitely came from the thought process of the whole, if you build it, they will come. If you get qualified as a coach, you put up a website, people will find you and want to hire you if you're good at what you do. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't at all work like that. A bad coach who understands marketing from a client perspective will kick the ass of a good coach that doesn't understand marketing. What I mean by in generating clients. So too many coaches think, okay, well, I'm clearly a good coach and I was put on this earth to coach. Well, that's not a marketing strategy. It doesn't matter what you put on this earth to do. People have to know about it and they're not going to hunt you down. So I think it's that realization that I have to go and put myself in front of potential clients and not wait for them to come to me.
And what do you think the unique skill that has allowed you to become so successful?
Well, I'm not sure I've got any skills that are unique. I think probably I see it all as a bit of a challenge, a bit of a game. So things like SEO, search engine optimization, for most people, it's a big yawn fest. Well, for me, it's like, okay, I want to beat this guy or that woman or whatever and get above them in the rankings. If it comes to understanding my niche, I want to dive a little bit deeper on my client avatar. So I think it's that, it's a competitive edge. I'm sure the coaches have got it, but I'm not sure they transfer it to coaching. I think they seem to think it's kind of like vulgar that you should be marketing and be competitive with coaching. Well, no, I mean, the marketplace is pretty much saturated. You have to do stuff to stand out. And that doesn't bother me. I don't mind standing out or people give me a hard time or whatever. I'll do what I need to do and have fun in the process. You got to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You really got to. If you don't enjoy it, forget about it. You got to, like Gary Vaynerchuk says, you got to enjoy the hustle. You have. If you don't, then it's going to be a slog for all of your business life or in that business.
Yeah, I totally agree there. If you haven't got the passion for it, then you will end up just quitting. So what advice would you give to someone who was thinking of starting a practice, but they're just too scared to make that first step and they keep procrastinating?
Well, I think it depends what the first step is, because there's a number of first steps. The first step could be getting some training, or it could be, starting a website, or it could be registering your business. In the UK, you have to do that. In Florida, not so much. So there's different first steps, and I would look at the whatever it is. So I had a call with a client this morning, and her problem is writing stuff and putting herself out there. And she doesn't want to be judged. Well, none of us like being judged. Well, maybe some people do. Most people don't like being judged. But it does get easier. I've had pretty much every insult known to man leveled at me at some point through writing, probably 2,500 blog posts now and put myself out there. So I think my advice would be keep your eye on the goal. don't focus. Well, you need to focus on what's next, but in the big picture, you need to understand why you're doing this. So if you get stuck, if you get like, you feel like you're in, running in treacle, then it's reminding yourself of why you're running in treacle. Well, you know what? I want a business where, like I did about an hour ago, I'm going to take my dogs out. It's 11 o'clock and I'm going to take them for a walk, and I'm going to do that because I can, that I'm not accountable to anybody else other than my clients and myself. So I think it's reminding us of, okay, well, when times get tough, take a step back. Okay, well, why am I doing this? What's the reason for this? What am I looking to achieve? Is that more important than somebody saying, oh, I didn't like your blog post, or, I didn't like the quote you posted on Instagram? Because doesn't matter what you do, there will always be detractors, there will always be people that don't like you, that don't agree with you, that want to see you fail or whatever. That's just part of life, and we have to recognize that and just move on, knowing that what we're doing is for, what we're trying to do is help as many people as possible.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think a lot of people end up constantly comparing themselves to other people.
Right.
And that's where I think I tend to find that it stops them.
Yeah, I mean, the first book I ever wrote, there was a chapter called Comparison Doesn't, I can't remember exactly, something like comparison doesn't deliver contentment. And it doesn't. The moment we compare ourselves, at the end of the day, I'm not a good-looking dude, with great moves on the dance floor. I can compare myself to good-looking dudes with great moves on the dance floor, and guess what? I'm going to be miserable. Or, but similarly, for every aspect of our life, I'm pretty sure that I could beat Usain Bolt at Words with Friends. I don't know the guy, so I have no idea, but only man to, run 110 seconds or whatever, but I'm not going to race him. It's just like, there's always people that are better at us in whatever aspect it is, unless we happen to be the greatest in the world, which we're not, for the most people, we're not. So it's just like, deal with it.
It's true. So I know you touched this a little bit, but can you just explain a bit more detail of what are the most common reasons why people come to work with you for coaching, and how specifically can you help people that are looking to grow?
Well, it's really just like a client. It's coaches. It's just like a client, and that comes down to a number of different areas. So it could be, have they formalised a niche? And if we'd have had this interview 3 years ago, and you said to me, Tim, do you need to have a niche to be a coach? I'd be like, nah, it's probably advisable, but no, you don't need to. And the reason why I would say that was because I never had a niche. I was very broad. But when I started, when we moved to Orlando, I got, to the best of my knowledge, there were 3 other coaches in Orlando. There's probably 300 now. So you have to stand out. You have to, a niche is another word for a specialist. Who do you specialize in? So for me, it's coaches. I specialize in working with coaches. Or it could be, clients that I've worked with. I've worked with a client for a year who he only dealt with people that have been through a TBI, a traumatic brain injury. So that's if that's what you do, if you've got a TBI and you land on my website and I say I just coach people with TBIs, bang, immediately you've got rapport. So it can be that, or it can be branding, because if you haven't got a tight niche, you can get around that with good branding. So for me, my branding was I help people get unstuck, and that was battered through every message, emails, newsletters, blog posts, what have you. And it kept saying I help people get unstuck. That's what we all do as coaching. That wasn't really a niche. But if you felt, I feel stuck, and you land on my website, like, okay, this guy's talking to me. Well, so is probably every coach. Like I said, that's what we do. Or it could be, SEO, search engine optimization, or it could be just conversion. So I've never looked at a coach's website to do an audit of it and hadn't seen areas where it could be improved on in terms of conversion, so getting people onto your newsletter list or whatever conversions for that website. So that as well. So it's in copyright, just the whole stuff that I've learned over the last 15 years, I guess.
No, it sounds like a comprehensive support for all areas for a coach. to help them establish themselves as a market expert?
Yeah. I like to think so. I mean, I don't get into technical elements. So if somebody called me and said, I want to hire you to build me a website, but I don't know how to build a website. I can tell you what the components necessary in terms of getting it there, but I don't deal with any of that. And that's another thing that I'm passionate about is I outsource anything like super technical, or even me. Sort of medium technical, I guess. I've never built a website in my life. I've no interest in building one, but I know what to look for with the designer and about conversion. That's the most important thing because, I've seen aesthetically beautiful websites that would never convert into clients. And at the end of the day, that's what our website's for the majority of people. And if that doesn't happen, then it doesn't matter how beautiful it looks, who's going to hire.
So true. So in a recent survey of about 9,000 workers in the UK, this study was done by UK Workplace, and they did this beginning of 2020. They found that 70% of women suffer from lack of confidence, while 60% of men suffer from lack of confidence. And of both men and women, 65% claim that that a lack of confidence stops them from increasing their salary, getting high positions, and actually affecting their emotional well-being. So in your opinion, why do you feel that so many people are now suffering from a lack of confidence in the workplace?
Well, the honest answer is I don't know, but I can hazard a guess, I guess, and that's because of how we're brought up. So if you take yourself back to school, and in school, and I'm old, I'm 58 in a couple of weeks, but when I was growing up, and I'm sure it's not changed that much, we would have our errors highlighted. So if you got a report card, or if you took a test or whatever, there'd be a red line through things that you got wrong, and they would be the things highlighted. So as a society in the UK, and I think it's pretty much the same in the US here, we tend to highlight people's failures rather than focusing on success. So when you do that, you erode people's confidence, you chip away. It's just like, forget that stuff that's really good. So I'll give you an example, because I'm sure she won't listen to this, because she doesn't listen to anything that I do with my wife. So she was the kind of classic person who had straight A's, but if she had a B thrown in there, the first comment would be, well, why have you got a B? Not, that's awesome, you got 10 A's. It's why have you got a B? So I think we tend to focus on people's quote unquote failures rather than we do sort of highlight the successes. It's, so to me it will be, that's awesome, you've got this amount of, sorry, I'm just turning that off because Siri's turned on. You've got 10 A's, that's fantastic. What has to happen next to maybe make it 11 A's next time, but the B's good? So we erode people's confidence all the time. We do that as a society. As a society, we look for where people fail rather than we do where they succeed. As a whole, that can be different. But those stats are pretty eye-opening, I think. Pretty disappointing, I guess.
Yeah, because it's something I just noticed when I was looking into like confidence in the workplace. And I noticed that, they were saying that, for a lot of people, they suffer from an increase of lack of confidence and also work-related stress. That's raising up on a high, and that's also impacting on people's self-esteem because of they're so stressed at work.
Yes, and stress. Stress is a different thing, because I used to give talks on stress management after the whole thing at Sheffield University. My opening question would always be, or opening intro would be, hands up everybody that's been scared of something in the last 2 weeks. And maybe, I don't know, a third of the hands would go up. And then I would say, okay, hands up everybody who's been stressed by something in the last 2 weeks. And pretty much most of the hands would go up. And then I would say, but there's the same thing. Stress is a fear response. There is no example where stress isn't a response of fear. So I'm stressed that, I'll fail my exam. I'm fearful I'll fail my exam, and that could impact on my job opportunities, whatever. I'm stressed about what my boss is going to say. I'm fearful about what my boss. There's no example in this context. You can stress metal, obviously, but in this context, there's no example where you can't replace it with fearful or scared or what have you. And I didn't do that to be clever or whatever. I did that to try and change people's relationship with stress. So I've, worked with big guys, just like, oh, I'm stressed at work. I'm like, what are you scared of? Well, I'm not scared of anything. Well, yeah, you are, because that's what it is. So it's almost become okay. Well, stress, it goes with the job. Does it really? That you should be scared all the time and that you're undermining your immune response and you're making yourself sick and whatever? Is that what goes with just because you pay a lot of money? So I think stress is a different thing. And as a society, I think it's we're obligated to help people understand what it is and not just say, it's just part of life. Well, it kind of is. We do get stress naturally from 20,000 years ago or whatever. But also, it for the most part, it's not necessary. And, so I would approach that somewhat differently to the confidence thing.
That's a very good point. Very good point. I don't think people always see it that way, that stress is the same as a fear. So I think that's a good point.
Well, yeah, but and stress, the thing is, as a society, we've grown to accept that stress is okay, but we wouldn't grow to accept that being scared or fearful all the time is okay. So when we break that relationship, when we show people, okay, it's the same thing, it's like, okay, well, now it's not quite as acceptable. And maybe I want to do meditation, or maybe I want to change my jobs, or maybe, I want to get rid of my husband, whatever. It's just like, then it becomes easier to make that change.
So what advice would you give to someone who came to you as a client and they said to you that they were suffering from low self-esteem, but they were looking to overcome this to grow their business?
Well, I think low self-esteem is normally that has its roots way back. So my sense will be immediately to be careful about it, because I don't want to get into a therapeutic environment because I'm not trained in that. So I want to investigate more what that is, what low self-esteem means, how it manifests in that person's life and what is holding them back. Because, like I say, therapists will be delving into the background and into the history of that. I'm more a question of, okay, where are we now and where do you want to get to? So it's kind of like a loaded question, and it will be different for each person. But so I would say, so if you said that to me, I'd say, okay, well, tell me what low self-esteem means to you. So I need to understand what it means to you first before I can understand that. Not only how I can deal with it, but more importantly, is it something I should be dealing with? Because I have no problem with walking away from potential clients if I think, okay, they need therapy or they need medical intervention or whatever. So as coaches, we all need to understand that. We all need to know the limits of our abilities and training and so on and so forth. And if in doubt, you just say, I'm not sure this is right for me. You walk away from it.
Very good point. Very good point. So what do you think is the key to having more deeper fulfillment in life? As a, yeah.
Oh, haven't you got an easier question? Come on. Okay, so to me, it's living in line with your values. It's understanding what's really important to you at a core, and then going out of the way to achieve that and not compromising your values. So too many people. I'll give you an example would be the money thing, and money is never a value because it's always what that gives you. So people, if you were to do a course, how to earn $1 million in a week, or pounds, sorry, let me get back into my English head, pounds, and I was to do a course, how to be blissfully happy in a week, and everybody knew that both those courses worked, you would still sell about 100 times more than me. Even though I'm like, hang on, why do you want money to be happy? People still think money underpins anything. So, but you know, I if you index linked it, I earn less money now than my last year in sales. So probably about the same actually now. But you couldn't pay me enough money to put me back into that situation where I was stressed / scared. You know, so I think it's doing what feels right for you on a moment by moment basis, and not what you think will earn you money, and that will allow you to do, you know, we're in this constant thing in society, or we'll earn some money, and guess what? That will allow me to be happy, or that will allow me to do this, and that will allow me to be happy. It's like, no, it don't work like that. I mean, you know, there's how much proof do you need to know that that actually doesn't work? But, and everybody gets it on a at a conscious level. Everybody gets that money or doesn't bring them happiness, but they get it for everybody else. So it's like, yeah, I agree with you. I agree absolutely. But you know what? I do really need this 20% rise in pay, because that's going to allow me to do this and that. You know, it's just like, as like a theory, everybody gets it. But when it comes to them, it's all about, yeah, I need more money, I need more status, and whatever. So live in alignment with your values. That's the thing. What is truly at a super deep level.
I love that. So what would you advise someone who's struggling to overcome procrastination, and that seems to be the thing that keeps them from being able to take actions to move forward?
Well, I think procrastination, probably the two most difficult things for a coach to deal with are imposter syndrome, which we kind of alluded to, and procrastination. So the reason why I'm hesitant to give advice on procrastination is because there can be so many causes of it. You know, the most obvious cause is I don't know what to do, therefore I do nothing. The second most common / obvious is there's so many things to do, I can't decide what to do, therefore I do nothing. And then there's a load of sort of increments between that. So it's important to find out, well, what's causing the procrastination? Is it a fear of failure? Is it a fear of success? Is it not knowing what to do? Is it just being overwhelmed, there's too much to do? Is it not knowing who to speak to or who to get help from? You know, so I'm always reluctant to give advice on procrastination, because what works for one person may actually blow up in the face of the second person, because their issue may be difficult, so may be different. So I think the most obvious thing is, are you short of information on making the next step? Now, if the answer to that is yes, go and get the information. You know, that's an easy one to, you know, the internet's a pretty big place these days. You can find information. If the answer is no, then it's really going to be determined on the person and their personality.
Good answer. So what do you think is a key ingredients for someone to have to create a winning mindset that allow them to really achieve high results?
I'm going to flip back and go straight back to values. So if you know, if you're in alignment with your values, that's going to keep you pushing through all the time. So let's suppose you've got let me say you've got a value of freedom, and for you, freedom means financial freedom, freedom to travel, or what have you. So I'm going to take my co-author with a book I wrote, John Strzelecki, and that's clearly one of John's #1 values, because he travels all over the world giving talks, and it allows him to take his wife and his daughter with him. So 6 months of the year he's traveling outside the country. So you know, when he and I don't necessarily literally mean him, but when he wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, it could be like, yeah, you know what, it's cold, I don't want to get out of bed. So your focus can be on that. The focus can be on, you know what, I want to spend the next 6 months going around Southeast Asia and giving talks and showing my daughter different cultures and lifestyles and introducing her to different flora and fauna, you know, whatever that is. So I think it's where we put our focus. Our success is determined by what we focus on. If we focus on how crap things can be, and guess what? things are going to be crap. And by the way, I'm not a law of attraction guy. I'm not trying to suggest that we ignore issues, but in terms of driving ourselves forward, it's like, well, I'm going to do this for that reason. And it's putting that short-term gain, which is rolling back over, pulling the duvet over your head, and it's a bit cold out there, I'm going to go to sleep, which is nice. We've all done it, and it is nice. Over, I'm going to get out of bed now, because guess what? In 2 hours' time, 2 days' time, 2 weeks, 2 months, I'm going to be glad that I did. So I think that is the key to it. It was a bit rambly, but I think you get the message.
And what advice would you to someone who's experiencing low productivity at work, but are struggling to raise their performances?
Well, again, it depends why they perform, what's underpinning the low productivity. So if that was a client of mine, I'd want to look, put to one side immediately, are there any health issues going on? Then I'd want to look, well, are the family issues going on? Because as human beings, we're very poor at compartmentalizing. So if people have got issues at home, that's going to bleed into work. And that could be, if their concentration or their, they're thinking about marital issues or issues with their kids or whatever, then that's going to naturally impact on the productivity at work. So that's the first thing. You've got to find out, well, is it something extracurricular that's causing those problems? If it's not, then it's almost certainly an issue with the job. They're not engaged in it. It doesn't align with their values. They're daydreaming about starting their own business or whatever. So they're completely different things. So on the second thing, it's just like, well, how do we figure out getting into a job that you are engaged with and you do want to be productive? Because productivity is, and there's been a lot of research to this with productivity, it's driven in a large extent by how whether people find their work meaningful and whether they feel whether they feel their work's meaningful, in other words, by their employers. Mm-hmm. So do they feel like they're doing work that adds value to other people, and do they feel wanted by their employers? They're the two things. They always come above money. Whenever, and they tend to fluctuate, but whenever there's a survey about what keeps people happy at work, and if that one of those two things or both are missing, or even the money element, people think they're underpaid, then productivity is going to slip.
Yeah, I really like that as an answer. So Cosmopolitan magazine, they recently did a survey and they found that the number one reason for breakdown in relationships, that could be personal business relationships, was communication. How would you advise someone who's struggling to have impactful relationships and strengthen their communication skills?
We've got a couple of hours to talk about that. I think it's the use of language. I think it's that, it really comes down to understanding the impact of what we say, both to ourselves and to others. And I'm casting my mind back now, because it was only like about 3 hours ago I was on with a client and she said something and it was like, she said something like, I've got a list of things to do that's a real nightmare, or something like that. And I said, how about saying you got a list of things to do that you're really excited about to drive your business forward? The kind of same thing, but so we underestimate that communication is a two-way street. If we communicate with other people, we communicate with ourselves. So having these conversations all the time, like, this person's not listening to me, or whatever, they're not worthy. But when we say things like that to ourselves, like she said, so flipping that and saying, okay, well, I've got these things to do that I'm really excited about, sends a totally different message back to our brain. So when talking to other person, so she sent the message to me, these are things that I'm, these are things that are, it's a wall for me. These are difficult. These are a pain in the ass, and so on and so forth. And so immediately, I'm a coach, so it's my job to look at things differently. But if she'd been saying that to a partner, that would have been, here we go again. we're starting to whine about something, what have you. So it's understanding the pattern, and this is so complicated. This is something that I could spend hours with a client. It's understanding the impact of the language you use. So I'll give you a quick example. It's easy to explain. So why? I never use why in a coaching context, maybe with core values, but even though I don't like using it. And the reason why I don't use why, so if I said to you, if you said to me, why did you not make the appointment last week, Tim, that we had booked, that I let you down on? It's like, okay, I had this problem with my neck and what have you. But immediately it puts me on the defensive. It puts you in a higher role. So, you've basically taken the role of, I'm in control here. You've lowered my status by saying, why have you done this? So you think about, as a kid, why have you got a B on your scorecard? Why haven't you tidied your room? Why? Immediately we take the dominant role and we use that. But if we then say, let's take the example of the kid that hasn't tidied his room. If we then say, okay, what has to happen next time to make sure you tidy your room? Immediately, we don't take on a dominant role. And what we do is we form a partnership. What do we need to do? So when we take out why of the equation, like I say, it's almost, you can't give me an example of when you need to use it because you never do. It's always, okay, what can I do to help you? Or how can we look at this different? Or, what's going to happen next time if we do this, this, or this? So that why is probably the single biggest way that people can improve their communication skills with people. And just like say, why were you late for a day? Okay, what do I need to do next time to help you get ready on time? Or do we need to move the date back 15 minutes or half an hour? Straight away, it's like, because then you focus on the solution, not the problem. If this house, if this room bursts into flames now, I wouldn't be saying to you, I wonder why this house is on fire. I'd be like, how do I get out of here really quickly? So we look for solutions and not problems. So I think that's, in communication, that's the single biggest thing, is to create partnerships and look for solutions.
Love that. Love that, not using the word why. That's a really...
Yeah, dump it. See if you can dump it. Make a challenge to yourself to dump it. And I did, so in my early days, I got obsessive with this, and I almost never use it now, except when I'm talking to my wife, and then that coach training goes straight out the window. But no, make a challenge, see if you can do it, and see the difference it makes. And because it removes that sort of, that barrier, that us and them, me and you type of thing when we use that word.
Like that. So what's been one of your favorite client success stories and why?
Favorite client success stories. I know it would be, actually. It would be somebody who came to me and booked me, and we worked together for about 10 sessions or what have you, way back when, and then I didn't feel like we were getting anywhere. He disappeared and came back to me 2 or 3 years ago, and to rebook some sessions. I'm like, I'm not sure, we didn't get anywhere and what have you. And then he went on to write a book that did phenomenally well. He went on to quit his job. He worked for the PGA, Professional Golf Association in America. He got a pretty good job. He quit that, walked away from it, went and started coaching, and I kind of like to use his name, and I can't. But that was super successful. Also, somebody whose name I can use, Meredith Hook, who used to be a hedge fund trader, and now she's a meditation teacher. And she just recently, well, it's about to come out. It would have come out now if it hadn't been for COVID. But she wrote her first book on Buddhist teachings, which is brilliant. So, but it's just, to me, it's like anybody that goes from working for, or in any job they don't like. I was going to say working for corporate UK or corporate America. That's not fair, because any job they don't like, to go in to set up their own coaching practice and being happy. It's not about the money. I don't judge success by somebody's wallet. It's like, well, you're happy. And if you are, then how much bigger a success can you get than somebody being happy?
Agreed. Yeah, because I think there's a lot of people who have money, they're not happy. So
Yeah, most of them.
yeah, I never associate that as a benchmark of success, because it's like you said, it's being passionate about the work you're doing and waking up every day knowing that you feel good about what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'm like that. I am the annoying person that I wouldn't say I'm never tired when I get with the money. I am. I'm sure that's a product of all the years I spent in the corporate world. But I'm excited every morning. I mean, I genuinely am. I know that sounds pathetic. It sounds cliched. It's like I don't believe it. No, I really am. I have no hobbies. I can remember reading. So Seth Godin's a big hero of mine, and I don't know if you read his stuff because he's such an ethical marketer. And I can remember reading years and years ago now that him saying that he never took vacations and he couldn't understand why people did. And I started to think, well, that's a bit sad, really, that you wouldn't do that. But now I'm exactly like that. I mean, I do take vacations because my wife wants them. She's a doctor, and she wants to get away from work from time to time. But for me, it's just like, you know what? As you know, I've got to have this operation on my neck, and I said to the surgeon last week, I said, will I be able to play golf again after the operation? He said, yeah, you'll be able, maybe 2 or 3 months or whatever. And then as I was walking out, I was thinking, I don't even play golf now. I stopped playing about 10 years ago just because I'm always doing stuff with the business. So if I have to write an article, yeah, that's fun. I have to do some SEO, that's fun, So I'm not really sure I've got to this state there, but yeah, anyway.
So during difficult periods that we're currently experiencing, during COVID and like big issues like that, what are your 2 best tips that enable you to stay motivated, that you can then share with people so they can be able to have tips on how they can stay motivated?
Well, I think I'm going to sound boring and repetitive, but the values thing is focusing on, the reasons. I'm going to use the word why, and that's why I said sometimes in values it can be useful to drill down and say why. So, why it is that you're doing this. The second thing is just to keep reminding yourself that we're only 6 months into this, and it's almost like, and I'm kind of saying do as I do rather than do as I say rather than do as I do now, because I do tend to follow news closely. And but I think it's to keep reminding yourself that it's not going to always be like this. Do you know when you get the flu, and like the proper flu, not a bit of a cold, within about a week, you forget what it's like to feel normal. And we're kind of in that situation now. It's difficult to remember what it was like before this, even though it was only 5 or 6 months ago. So I think it's reminding ourselves, this, just keep doing the same things, putting stuff in place, because, and I don't know when it's going to be, neither does anybody, but it will return to a form of normal. What that looks like, I don't know. But for me, it doesn't really impact what I'm doing with my business, because everything I do is online. I've definitely seen a dip in inquiries, I'll be honest, but not significantly. And I think there's always going to be a call for people in our space, in the coaching space, in the satisfaction or feeling good, whatever that is. That's, people are still going to work, people are still going to need coaches, and it's just keeping your eye on what it is you do and why you do it.
And that's very good advice, really good advice. So can you provide us with 2 or 3 resources? These could be books or podcasts that you can recommend that would help our viewers with, whether it's building a coaching practice or whether it's, personal development books that inspired you to help you get to where you are.
Okay, I'm going to go all fanboy on Seth Godin. So Seth Godin's blog, which is brilliant, it's about the only blog that I read everyone that, and he blogs every day, so is a machine with that. I'd also recommend, and this is required reading for people that do my course. His book, This is Marketing. I mean, he's written a load of books and they're pretty much all good. There's a couple I've not read. He's written over 20, but I've read most of them. And This is Marketing is a fantastic book. In terms of for marketing for new coaches, I would definitely go and sign up for the podcast by Neil Patel and Eric Sue, which is called The Marketing School. Every podcast is between 5 and 10 minutes long, so it's really cool. They'll hammer out 8 ways to do this, 5 ways to do this, and that's every day. And I think that's well worth checking in with. I also think Russell Brunson is worth following. I don't like his hard sell tactics. There's a lot of elements of his business that I don't like, but sometimes, Wahome, it's important that we take out elements to something. Say, well, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be battering people with 7 emails in 1 hour. But you know what? That's kind of cool, and I can take that and not being, not being judgmental about it. So Russell Brunson is definitely worth following. All those guys from a marketing perspective. And from a coaching perspective, my favourite book of all time is David Rock, Your Brain at Work, which I think is a fantastic book for understanding how we process information, what have you, but at a layman's level without being too technical, because I'm not a technical guy.
Thank you for those. And the next question is, we know what you're good at. What's one hobby activity in your personal life that you are not very good at?
Golf. Oh, you mentioned it. Yeah, I suck at it. Everybody used to say to me, "Oh, you've got a really nice swing. Why can't you hit the ball?" Because I had lessons when I was like about 8. I had for lessons, but I still suck at it. And anything around the house, if I pick up my toolbox, my wife's immediate response is, "Where are you going with that?" Because I'm the guy that puts a nail through a water pipe. Yes, I've done that. Set fire to a barbecue. I used to set fire to a barbecue, but I did it. Yes, I'm incompetent at anything. Anything that's not cerebral, anything that requires. I put up a curtain rail above our door a few weeks ago. It fell down. I put it up again. It fell down again. Third attempt, my wife just hired somebody. So I'm just incompetent at anything like that.
Yeah, it's not my strong point too, DIY.
No, you got to recognise your strengths and your skills. And that's the thing, we all have a very small amount of things we're good at, what I call, core competencies. I've got about 5. Everything else I suck at. So I'll just concentrate on the 5 and then hire people to do the rest of them.
And next question. So this is 2 in 1. What's next for you in terms of your practice? And the second part of the question is, how can people reach out to you to work with you? Like what are your social media handles, and what's your website information?
So what's next for me? I'm launching a digital course. So I've run this live course. In fact, it's going at the moment. It's the 21st course. So I've run that 2 or 3 times a year for the last 7 years. And that I'm in the middle of digitalizing that. So I'm creating a digital product for launch in the fall or autumn. I got castigated the other day for saying the fall to an English friend. So the autumn. That is the next thing. That's all my energy at the moment, is other than with clients, is focused on that. In terms of getting hold of me, really just through my blog, coachalifecoach.com. I do have I have a social media group for Coach a Life Coach that people are welcome to join if the coaches. I don't allow anybody else into it. But my personal Facebook page is mainly to communicate with people back in the UK. So I talk a lot about politics. I tend to troll Trump and things like that. And it's probably, some people, that's great. And they gel with that. They're like, I like this guy. He's a life coach or a coach that talks about politics and what have you. So I'm not afraid about talking about that, because if that rubs you up the wrong way, then I'm not the right coach for you. But whether it's the best way to get in touch with me the first time, so it would be coachalifecoach.com. Sign up for the newsletter list, and then there's also an option to join the Facebook group on the homepage.
Perfect. So I recommend anyone who watches this later or watches now to definitely give Tim a contact with your coach, and you'll get like some great results with him. So give him a reach out to him and contact him. And so the final question What's one final piece of advice you want to give to coaches out there, aspiring coaches out there, that you want to leave them with?
I think it's to focus on what it is that you're looking to achieve and what it is you want to do, because at the moment the industry is saturated with new coaches. That's the bad news. The good news is it's saturated with coaches that really don't know how to market themselves. So if your marketing plan is, I was put on this earth to be a coach, then good luck, because that's not going to work. So make sure you understand marketing and to market yourself, because the minute you do that, the minute you understand marketing, you separate yourself from 99.9% of the coaches. So learn that, and then you're not going to be disappointed, because too many coaches go through like coach training and then they think, okay, now I'm a coach, where's all the clients? That didn't work for me 15 years ago. It's certainly not going to work for you now, and there's so many people into the industry. People can still be successful as coaches if they bother to treat it like a business. It can feel like a hobby. You just have to treat it like a business and do the work that's needed to generate clients.
Love that. Really good advice. So Tim, it's been a pleasure interviewing you, and thank you for all the key insights you've given us today. You've given us some great insights, and that's going to really be beneficial for everyone who watches later and watches this now. Everyone else who's watching, there'll be more business conversation interviews coming up, so check those out. I will post those on Instagram and Facebook, so keep an eye out for those. Otherwise, Tim, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, thank you. I appreciate it.
We wish you the best of luck going forward, and have a great weekend, and we'll speak soon.
Take care. Cheers, mate.
Thanks a lot.